Hello, friends. This is Christopher Davis-Shannon, and welcome back to the Magic Ukulele Podcast. Today, we're headed to Germany to speak to luthier Tom Ziegenspeck. I had the pleasure of meeting Tom last year at the Aloha Festival in southern Germany, one of the most incredible festivals I've ever been to. It's at a resort tucked away in the Alps. What could be better than that beautiful landscape, fresh air, and playing music all weekend? I got to sneak away for a little bit, play some of Tom's ukes, and chat with him. And he really intrigued me in that his ukuleles are pushing the boundaries of, well, maybe what we think of as an ukulele. He has some beautiful crossover instruments, some instruments that are modern versions of older instruments, and he's experimenting with some unique body styles. Let's see what Tom has to say. Tom, thank you so much for joining me on this sunny English morning. How are you today?
Hello, Chris. I'm absolutely feeling good. It's sunny over here in Leipzig, Germany as well. So I can see the sun shining through the window onto your books.
I know,
So,
and you should know this is very, very rare.
yeah, it's like that one sunny day you have over the year.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, we get one per month. That's fair.
Whoa,
but you,
oh well.
yeah,
Not
but
too bad.
you know this because you used to live in Wales,
Yeah, that's true.
and there you were working with the legendary Pete Howlett.
I
Uh,
used to. Yeah.
and how did you come to meet Pete and have a partnership with him?
That was a really funny, interesting, and very important story. Um, I was studying musical instrument making, specialized on plucked instruments. So I was making classical guitars, and part of that study is making half-year internship in a factory or
Okay.
workshop. And yeah, well, I just made an ukulele before because of a friend of mine. He was giving me a set of Siricoti,
Hmm.
far too small for a guitar. So I went online, got myself a building plan for a tenor ukulele, and just built it. And I was like, oh, that was fun. I made about 5 guitars before, and I said, oh, that's much more fun than building guitars.
I
So
agree with you. Ukuleles are much more fun than
it's
guitars.
just no, I just love that bit smaller shaped, and yeah, it's amazing. And I went online, and actually, I don't know why. I don't know why till today. I was googling, and not finding Pete. Actually, Chuck more better
Oh,
ukulele.
sure.
I wrote him, and he said, "Hey Tom, why you not talking to Pete? He's much closer to Germany than US." And I was like, "Okay, just I don't know why." And then that day I wrote Pete, and he answered like, "Okay, sent me some pictures." I did that, and that it was the contact was very well. I don't know what to say, but then he said, "Yeah, just come over for internship. Yeah, half-year internship. Just come over,"
Wow.
and we haven't seen each other really, and before, and then I went over there and came into his workshop. He opened the door, and we just fell in love. It was just like he is yeah. It was just the best time of my life. So, but before this moment, I walked into his workshop. It was all a bit like I haven't had any accommodation over there, and I just went there by car. And then he came, and he was like, "Ah, come here, I hug you," and then yeah, and then the friendship started. It was like,
That's incredible.
yeah. It's just
Yeah, and what a person to be able to learn from when you're starting out
it's just
making
it
ukuleles is
was
one of the best, especially
absolutely,
on this side of the world,
yeah,
at least.
absolutely.
He is absolutely a legend. Um, and then, so how long were you in Wales for before you moved back to Germany? This was for half a year.
So that internship was half a year. Then I went back to finish my study, and after that, Pete, that was the time he got diagnosed with the Parkinson's, and
Yeah.
then he asked me to come back and help him out to make some more ukulele,
Oh,
and,
okay.
and that was in 2015.
Okay, so
One,
some of the Pete Howletts that are floating around have your chisel marks on them as well.
that's right. So and that was another 2 years.
Yeah, and
to
I want to talk about where you went to school in Germany. I saw is the town that C.F. Martin was born
absolutely
in, and
right.
I grew
Yeah.
up about a half hour from the Martin workshop in Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So Martin guitars to me have always been kind of a sense of home, and it's
Yeah.
nice to see that connection in Germany. I'll have to visit that school sometime and make the pilgrimage
Oh, you
myself.
honestly, you will love it. That wasn't the school that, well, that building was still there when Steve Martin was
Yeah.
born, but at that time it was just the home of a very rich guy, because that is like a building you see and it's like massive and nice, and yeah. But the whole village or city of Markneukirchen is uh, very well known for instrument making. And yeah, and he was, I think the fact was, most of them was like at that time was like were like traditional building, like
Mm,
violins and guitar making, like
sure.
you have to do it that way or it doesn't make sense. So, and he was going the next step and building like steel string guitars, a bit more futuristic that age. And then he had to go to America because that was the place to give him more freedom making what he is looking for.
Right, and certainly made a name for himself in the states.
Uh,
And I love that you said his designs are becoming a little bit more futuristic,
mm,
because I have to tell you that that's what initially drew me to your ukuleles.
uh,
Well, because of course we don't I don't just hang around in Germany and play everyone's ukulele. Unfortunately, although I have luckily had the opportunity to play your instruments at the Luha festival last year, but aesthetically, I love the futuristic vibe that you have in your instruments. They don't feel Hawaiian or
yeah, yeah,
traditional. They feel new. They feel fresh, but with sort of a retro throwback. I get
uh,
this sort of '60s kind of futurist vibe from them, and I thought that was really beautiful. And I'm actually curious about how did you come to developing the aesthetic of your instruments? Obviously, so much goes into the sound, but you have a very definitive aesthetic. If I
mhm.
saw a Ziegenspeck ukulele out in the wild, I would know exactly what it was in a moment, just from looking at the inlays.
Yeah. Well, but that is a good point. I think my design started with a special inlay that is like a compass rosette.
Mm,
Now and then do, and this is something I learned from the very first workshop I used to work in. My, years before I did the instrument making study, I was doing an internship in in the workshop in the hometown Leipzig, in my
mm,
hometown Leipzig, where I'm at the moment as well. It was a guitar maker called Philip Neumann. He was like doing very classical Spanish guitars,
mhm.
and that was probably the base of my idea. Because,
Okay.
well, when you start getting into something like that and you love it, you pick it up like a sponge, and then you're like, oh, that's nice, nice. But I kept some inlay work from Philip,
Mm,
redesigned it, and especially but the shape. I remember the shape I'm still using as my standard shape
yeah.
is based on an old Magna Kirchen guitar maker
Oh,
who
okay.
was a bit doing the middle body part thinner than everyone else, and this is what I do
Right, it has
actually.
that tight
Yeah, yeah,
waist
yeah.
to
The
it.
tie
Yes.
waist is a bit smaller, and that makes it a bit more shapy, and this is what I like. And
Yeah, which is
probably,
interesting because that
uh,
tight waist, that sort of figure eight design,
uh,
you know, the Nunez and Diaz ukuleles, the very
yeah,
early ones had
okay,
that, but on
yeah,
a much
yeah,
smaller scale,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true.
But a similar silhouette. It's almost as if you've started reimagined that
Yeah,
traditional ukulele silhouette that we don't see much today. Now that it's evolved to everything's a Martin shape. Back to Martin,
yeah.
right? So many ukuleles are Martin style
But as well, I
ukuleles.
noticed it's very important, as like in the violin making branch. Uh, don't go too far away from the basic shape.
Sure.
If you do that, people are very, I don't know whether I'm feeling comfortable playing that. So do something special, but not too special.
Yes,
So yeah,
but you say that, do something special but not too special, and then you have a few instruments that you make that are
yeah,
certainly far
yeah, yeah,
far
yeah,
far removed from what we would traditionally think
yeah,
of as an ukulele. I think the least actually maybe the most traditional in a way, but also the least traditional is the harp electric
yeah.
ukulele that you make, because obviously a harp design is a very old design of classical guitar and ukulele, but you have reimagined this into, is it a solid body or a chambered body instrument on that?
Well, it's solid but drilled out. So
Ah,
I do drill it out, so I get less weight. If
okay,
it's
sure,
not
sure.
drilled out, it will be about 1.5 kilos up
Ooh.
to 2 kilos. So it's quite heavy instrument.
Yeah.
So but so I just chamber it, but for weight reason, not for acoustic reason.
Ah,
Um,
okay, okay.
yeah, but do you want me to tell you the story about the harpy?
Please do it. I'm curious because you make other electric ukuleles as well, which are just gorgeous, and
Yeah,
I want to talk about them for a few reasons in a
yeah.
moment. But which came first for you, the traditional electric that you make, or was the harp uke sort of what
No,
brought you into the electric world?
the traditional just electric uke was the first one,
Yeah.
um, and but that came after I finished the university, the study of
Mm.
instrument making, and my final instrument, my master instrument, was a harp ukulele,
Okay.
acoustic,
Hmm.
and that yeah, I had to do this. I was just thinking about it. I had to build something like that to finish my study because my masterclass teachers, they were all like kind of a bit smiling at me when I was building. Well, I made guitars. Then I said, I'm making ukuleles now. And they said, okay, you're building these small ones now. They were a bit like looking into that with a smiling eye and saying, okay. Not really accepting the standard of a ukulele. So
Sure.
I had to make something like shell inlay, flamed wood, high gloss finish, and it had to be not just like an ukulele; it had to be a harp ukulele, something very special.
Yeah.
So I made it, and it was the best instrument of the year. So that was okay though. But yeah, that was the only acoustic harp ukulele I've
Hmm.
ever built because the making it is quite of a bit work. So
I can imagine.
not that cheap. So um, the idea of the harp E came up just to make an harp ukulele that is more affordable. So it's easier to make a solid body than an acoustic body harp
Certainly,
ukulele.
and if you're going to plug it in anyway,
Well, the sound is
does it
huge
matter
anyway.
that
Yeah,
much, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And do you use a piezo pickup in that, right?
That's right. Under
And it's
saddle, but
oh, an undersaddle. Okay,
under saddle. And for the harp ukulele, I developed a stereo pickup system.
very nice.
You can switch in between, or you have like a stereo jack, so you can put out the bass strings and the treble strings separately. So you can
Hmm.
put different effects on the bass strings and treble strings, or
Oh, nice.
yeah, that's because yeah, it's
So you got a lot of performance options in there.
absolutely.
And speaking of pickups, you're, I think, the only luthier that I know that developed his own pickup. And it's a piezo soundboard transducer, of which there are of course many, but I've heard a lot of ukes with your pickup in them, and they all sound great. And I think it's really proof that a piezo is not just a piezo. There are
That's the point, and
yeah,
you
and
will
it
laugh.
shows.
You will laugh because well, these coin size piezo elements. I use 20 millimeter piezo elements. This is the size I think for soprano to baritone ukulele. That's the size you need to pick up the sound, and
Yeah.
then you just need one. Um, for guitar, it's different, but and these ones I get from the UK
Okay.
still and always.
Yeah.
So it's
Because
not
the quality
these are
matters, right?
well I don't know, but these are not, and they are different. I of course I already bought some from AliExpress China and
We
tried to
all have.
compared and tried. But these elements from UK, they have so much output. It's like much more than the other ones, and this is an element I can work with. And then yeah, I sold the cables, and I, well, this is all I do in my workshop then. And yeah, so I didn't invent the pickup, but I think
Sure.
I made it more functional for the ukulele.
And
So
what brought you into saying I need to make my own pickup with so many on the market already? Were you dissatisfied with the options that you had used?
well, actually, yes, but that happened already in Pete's workshop.
Mm,
We he was having these piezo elements in there, and then we soldered them together because we had to shorten the length of the cable. Every other provider of piezo pickups, they offer them in far too long cable length. So
right.
it's wobbling around and clicking and clopping, and it's like you have to put like zip wire on it, and it just doesn't work properly. So I was thinking of why not doing it in the right length for a tenor size ukulele. There's no cable wobbling around. That's the main idea behind my pickup, and I think this is why people buy that, because it's the exact cable length you need. And uh, yeah,
Yeah, and
yeah,
passive and simple, which
yeah,
I always
yeah,
think
yeah.
is great. Less things to go wrong inside the instrument because obviously
Absolutely.
working inside an ukulele, if something breaks,
Yeah.
is very hard.
Yeah.
I want to hop back to your. We mentioned your traditional. Well, I say traditional, but your electric ukulele that you
Yeah.
make, not the harp one, but
Yeah.
the regular one.
Yeah.
And I'll link to Tom's website, obviously, so everyone listening can see these instruments because words don't do them justice. They're really beautiful and unique instruments. But your electric ukulele is interesting, and I believe you market it as both for nylon and steel strings.
Uh, okay. I They are able to do both, but that is important to know before the building process, because these days I mostly do the knot and pull through bridge,
Ah,
you
okay.
know, and not the pin bridge. For the steel string, you have to have a pin bridge, and
Sure.
yeah, but I, in the most cases, people just want to play it with fluorocarbon or nylon strings, so they don't need the pin bridge. For the steel, if you ask for playing it with steel string, you need the pin bridge. That's making the difference, but both works actually. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's it's such a total difference because I have a steel string uke here, and of course, plenty of nylon and
yeah,
fluorocarbon ones. And steel strings is a completely different instrument as
absolutely.
far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. I mean, even the way that you are able to play the
yeah.
instrument, the traditional techniques don't really work
No,
terribly well. It
no,
certainly
no.
doesn't sound like it, but it's so nice to be able to have a hybrid instrument like that where you have
Yeah,
the option of
yeah.
which do you want to use in such drastically different sounds that you can get out of
Absolutely.
one instrument.
But fingers start to hurt if you're not into playing steel string.
That's my problem, Tom. I
Yeah,
love my steel string for 5 to 10 minutes, and then
yeah,
I want to
that's
go
it.
back to the nylons
Yeah,
because I don't really play guitar anymore. Everything in my life is nylon, and I'm just
yeah,
not tough enough to play steel strings these days. I'm too old for that. Uh,
yeah.
so something that you've been I've noticed you working on with your ukuleles, which has been done in the classical guitar world for years, and is I've found in the classical guitar world can be a bit controversial, and I've seen some other ukulele players start to do this. Is double backs on
Oh
your
yeah.
instruments, and this is such a cool concept that when it was first laid out for me, I said, "Oh yes, that makes total sense. Of course, why
Yeah,
would you not make an instrument like that?" So could you explain the concept of the double back ukulele and
yeah.
what brought you into starting to integrate them into some of your instruments?
Actually, the first moment I was thinking about it was sitting down with a good friend, a violin maker, who's saying the uh, the wood or the back of a violin or a cello is kind of 30 up to 40% of the tone.
Mm.
I was like, okay, it's such an important part of the tone because uh, the how the post between the
The
top and
sound
the back,
post,
the
sure,
sound
yeah.
post, yeah, it's transferring the swinging of the front to the back and back to the front, and that makes the whole sound of a violin, uh, viola, cello, and so on. And I was thinking about that, and then of course playing a guitar with a big body, um, you feel how the back is swinging when you play it,
Yes.
but as well you push it against your body, and that kind of
Right.
stops swinging it. And with the ukulele, you just push it against your body, and the
We
body is
completely muffle it.
there's
Yes.
nothing swinging. It's just
Yeah.
like, okay, you stop the whole thing of being part of the sound. And I was thinking, okay. And then I put in an inner soundboard, the double back, with
Mm.
the sound post. But that doesn't, well, and the funny thing is, that
Oh,
doesn't
with a
work.
sound post at
Yes,
first.
with the sound post.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that doesn't work because there is a big difference between a bowed string instrument and plucked string instrument.
Sure.
A bowed instrument has a constant tone going for seconds or minutes if you do the bow thing right, and that makes it to vibrate for a long time doing, and that works with that sound post. But for ukulele, if you pluck the tone for like a pop, it doesn't work. So I
Yeah.
had to remove the post, but then the body was swinging, and the difference between an instrument with a double back or not a double back, it's not like a completely different instrument. The character is there, but I think the range in case of depth, volume, but not, well, not volume in case of, it's not much more louder, but the tones in depth and treble side are a bit more strong. It's
Mm.
just you feel, yeah, you definitely feel a
Yeah,
difference.
'cause as you said,
uh,
you're allowing that
yeah,
back to
yeah,
vibrate, where
yeah,
generally we
yeah,
we completely mute the back of the instrument, especially people like me who handhold their instrument against them.
yeah,
My back is to the instrument
yeah,
is
yeah,
not in play at all for
yeah,
the sonic characteristics, and this starts to solve that problem.
yeah, absolutely. And as well, in that case, it was important to think about what to do with the sides.
Mm.
What you want in my ears and eyes, you don't want the sides to take apart any of the frequency or swinging. So
Hmm.
I'm making laminated sides, so they're very stiff and strong. So they just reflect the sound between the top
Ah.
and the double back. So, and that is making a very good teamwork, and that makes the sound going out of the sound hole like pop. Uh,
Yeah, and well, and you use some side sound ports with the double back as well, right? I
oh,
think I've seen on a
yeah,
few of your
yeah, yeah.
instruments.
But they are important just to allow the inner soundboard to reflect properly. If there wouldn't be there, it would be like a vacuum chamber, kind of. Well, not
Okay.
completely, but kind of. So you have to have uh, that area to work. So you have, it needs these sound holes to yeah, just swing properly, and yeah. So that's important.
Right, to tune things and let the
Yeah,
sound actually
yeah, yeah,
escape the
yeah.
instrument. Um, uh, Tom, living in Germany, I'm curious as to what woods are your favorite to work with. Do you work with local woods that you can source there, or do you prefer more exotic woods, as many ukulele players and luthiers do?
That's a very good question. At the moment, I okay. Let's go back to that point. I really love working with local woods, and especially woods I chopped down like 6 7 years ago by myself. So
Oh,
I have a
okay.
couple. I have a couple of these trees. That's a cherry tree, a walnut tree, and a maple tree. And these three are now ready to go or work with, because they tried for more than 6 years, and so the most. my most favorite wood at the moment to work with is it's a walnut tree from Leipzig.
Mm.
That tree was standing in at my best friend's garden his parents' house. So yeah, but the tree had to go, so we chopped down, and yeah, uh,
So you're
very
really
nice.
you're making these ukuleles from chopping down the tree to carving
Now,
everything.
now and then, but not every time. As well, I just bought some wood from America, some American walnut and
Mm.
cedar and redwood. So in making instruments out of that
Yes.
as well.
Are are
Yeah,
you using the walnut for tops, or is that a back and sides wood for
actually,
you?
as well for tops, and I use that wood because I got like a bit more of it now, as that was a whole tree. So I'm I'm happy with the color and the sound of it. So I'm using that for my building courses when
Mm.
people come in the workshop and build their own instrument. So I use that wood because that is just stunning wood and easy to work with and getting a very nice instrument with less effort if you just use mahogany and
Mm.
uh,
Yeah,
spruce, let's say, like that. Yeah.
yeah. I was I was talking to Marco Todeschini a few
Yeah.
weeks ago, and we were talking about, he's made these paper mache instruments and
Yeah.
different composite instruments, and his idea on how much the soundboard affects things versus the back and sides. And I'm curious with other luthiers, how do you feel about that? Do you think that the soundboard is really the only thing that matters, or how much influence do you think the back and side wood choices actually have on the sound of an instrument? I know you said use laminate sides for
Yeah.
the double back instrument. So do you feel as the sides especially are maybe more structural, or do you think that the choice of woods for that has a large impact on the overall sound of the instrument?
So I would say if I'm not making a double back instrument, well, no, even though if I make a double back or not a double back, I'm always saying to my clients, it doesn't matter what we use for back and sides, as long as it looks nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to work with the statics. So as I'm doing laminated sides, we can use the nicest, curliest wood, and I have to glue it to a proper um, static, high quality wood, and it works.
Hmm.
For the back, we have to look that this surface is being stable, but there's always a way to get it work with the braces, and yeah.
Okay.
Um,
What sort of bracing are you using on the tops of your
I'm
instruments?
still as just on my mandolele, the mandolin shape ukulele.
Yeah.
I use a X brace,
Okay.
but for all the others, I do a Spanish lattice or brace with the
So
yeah
rather traditional
yeah
bracing
yeah
in the
that's it yeah,
instruments.
and that's it.
If it
Yeah,
works, it works.
absolutely. And I'm still going for that like first day, and I'm actually still working on brace thickness, shape, and bend, but I always use the same placing for the braces and just work on that, and then just finally getting the sound better and better and better, hopefully. But it's always important to stay for something like placing of the braces, just so you can work on it. If you do the placing every time different, yeah, okay, come on. It sometimes works, it doesn't, or whatever. It's like, yeah,
Right, and that is something that
yeah,
impacts the
yeah,
sound
yeah,
quite a bit.
yeah,
Is that
absolutely,
how you brace that top
yeah,
and how stiff it is in different points of
absolutely,
course.
yeah,
And people have been doing it for hundreds of years the
uh,
same way for good reason, I guess.
yeah.
Because it indeed works. You mentioned a moment ago in passing something we should not gloss over, which is the mandolele.
Yeah.
Which you had mentioned to me last week, and I didn't know that you were making this instrument. And is this your own invention? Is anyone
Oh
else
yes,
make?
it is, Chris.
This is such
This
a
is
so
my
it is
this
what it sounds like. It is
this is
essentially a
my
cross between
patent,
mandolin and a
but
ukulele.
there's no patent on it. No,
Okay, no one steal this. This is
no,
Tom's.
no,
This is
no.
Tom's.
Just go for it. Just go for it. I invented it. I didn't sold that many, so I'm I'm thinking no, but the story behind that is amazing. because I personally, musician wise, come from Irish Scottish folk music.
Mm.
So I play Irish flute, bagpipes, and stuff like that. So this is where my heart is, and so I'm loads in Irish pubs and doing sessions. Well, I used to, not now, but so there was one instrument as in guitar or ukulele maker I was just in love with was the Irish bouzouki.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Much more than the mandolin actually, but I was like, oh, that sound is huge, and I like the water or teardrop shape of it. And then there was that time I was thinking I have to make a new ukulele model just to get like attention, get the people to look what you're making. Oh,
Something fresh, something
yeah,
exciting,
just
sure.
you have to just be creative, Tom. So, and then I was thinking about that, and actually it's based on a bouzouki shape, but how do you call something like with a bouzouki, like a
An
mix
uku
of bouzouki,
busuki.
ukusuki, or
Yeah, it doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well.
gulele? I don't know. So it was easier to call it a mandolele, and
Yeah, are you using standard ukulele tuning
yes,
on that?
absolutely. It's standard ukulele tuning, scale of 440 millimeters, and yeah, it's a huge body. I, me as a musician, I would say, if you want the best sounding ukulele from Ziegenspeck, you have to get a mandolele, because that huge, not honestly, but that huge body is like making such a great sound. But yeah, as I said, I think I made 5 of them
Mhm.
in 3 years. And yeah, it's just too strange for the ukulele players. It's far away
Oh,
from the
I don't think anything is too strange for ukulele players. You just need to
oh,
find the
Chris.
right ones. That's
Yeah,
if anyone's listening to this, you need a mandolele.
but it was in the Uke magazine in the last one as well, and yeah. But I think it's I think people are not really accepting it. The guys I sold it to are actually mandolin players, so they're playing
Doing their crossover into the ukulele
mandolin
world.
and ukulele. They said, "Okay, I'm happy with the shape because I'm playing that anyway." But I love the nice soft fluorocarbon strings and playing ukulele. So, but yeah,
So
but
how do you that teardrop sort of shape versus the more standard figure eight ish shape of your ukes? Do you find that shape, not just the overall size of the body, has a massive impact
yeah.
on the sound of the instrument?
Sorry, I didn't got that question. Sorry.
So the teardrop shape that you're
Yeah.
using, do you think that shape impacts the sound greatly as opposed to what it would sound like if you used a standard tenor ukulele
Ah,
shape
absolutely.
at the same
Yeah.
scale?
Because what you have to think of is the actually surface swinging
Hmm.
below the bridge is from bottom of the sound hole. So from the lower edge of the sound hole towards the end of the instrument. This is the surface swinging all towards the fretboard, is like kind of stiff area. And that stiff area on that mandolele is the thin part that is not really important. And that surface of the mandolele below the sound hole is third of the size than a tenor ukulele.
Ah,
3 times.
right, right.
So
So a lot more vibrating
that
area.
is like, oh yeah, there is much more. And then, yeah, that absolutely makes the instrument, um, yeah, more sounding.
More
So,
resonance and
yeah.
probably more volume,
Good.
I would
And
assume.
as well, the kind of bridge I use, that it's not like a towed bridge.
Right.
It's like a put-on bridge, or how
Hmm.
like as you use on the violin or mandolin.
Sure.
So, and that makes a different sustain.
Hmm.
These instruments are much more sustaining because there's no toe pressure on the front. It's just a push pressure, or how,
Right.
I don't know
Right.
how you say it.
Yeah.
But the strings are just pushing on the front, and
Hmm.
not like on a
It does
not
have the pull. It only
yeah
has the
yeah yeah
push
yeah
on
pull
top,
pull
much like
sorry
a
pull
violin.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
just yeah, push pressure, no pull pressure. Yeah, that's right. And that's making a different sound as well. So, and
Hmm.
as well, the bridge is just put on, so you can always decompensate whenever you need it. So whatever set of strings you put on, you can just say, okay, 2 millimeters down, and then the compensation is excellent and perfect. So
Right. A lot easier to intonate than a fixed
yeah, yeah,
saddle
absolutely,
on a
absolutely,
traditional
absolutely.
uke. Maybe this floating bridge is this
Yeah,
is the new thing in the uke world right here.
but it works with that mental. I've seen instruments like standard shaped tenor ukulele with a floating bridge.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look right. I don't
Yeah,
know why.
I used to have a Regal tenor
Yeah.
guitar from the 20s that was, looked like a regular tenor guitar but had
Yeah.
the floating bridge
Yeah.
on it. And I always thought it was a really great look personally. But I know what you mean about the sound difference on there, the push versus not having the pull.
Yeah.
It's a very different sound on how it kind of vibrates the
Absolutely, yeah.
top of the instrument. It's an interesting one. So Tom, I have one final question for you, and this is my question for everyone that comes on the
Oh,
show,
yes.
which is, who is your favorite luthier out there right now that you think is doing new and exciting things in the ukulele world?
So my absolutely biggest heart is at Pete.
Sure,
Absolutely. So he's like kind of my father. And if he wasn't in your show before, definitely go for Pete.
I will.
And then it is funny because these are two guys I'm in contact every month. Well, Marco was a bit quiet for a couple of months, but I was just talking to him before you got in touch with me, and yeah, this is a guy I'm really close. Um, if you're if you want to chat to a really nice guy from Germany as well who's making ukuleles, and he's a cool guy. His name is Raphael Herzberg. It's
Okay.
called Russell ukulele.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
I know his instruments, of
and
course,
he
of course.
and I'm good with him. We just catch up on festivals, but he's a nice guy, and I would say go for him.
Yeah, Russell is very
Uh,
interesting
yeah,
ukes. I know he made an electric for ISO
yeah,
Perquist
that's
that
right.
I've seen.
Yeah,
Very,
yeah,
very
yeah,
cool
yeah,
instrument. And I didn't actually know his name. I
yeah,
only knew the
yeah,
names of the ukuleles. So I have to look
yeah,
at it. But you were who Marco mentioned when he was on the show,
yeah,
which I laughed about because you were already next on my list to contact.
yeah.
So it seemed perfect that I had to reach out to you next. So Tom, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and talking about your instruments with
Thank
me.
you,
I hope
Chris.
everyone listening has learned a little bit, and I'll link to Tom's website so that you could go stare at his instruments, because looking at them is just as important. He has some great video clips up there and you can hear them as well. So thanks again, Tom. Have a
Chris,
great day.
thank you so much. Take care, my friend.
Thank you for listening. This podcast is brought to you by the Magic Ukulele Club, the largest online learning community for jazz ukulele in the world. I'll see you all soon.